Welcome to the explainer. So, you know that feeling when you look in the mirror and it's like your hard work in the gym is just giving you totally random results? Like one week you look fuller and stronger, and then the next you just look flat and your progress has totally hit a wall? If you've been there, you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're demystifying the actual biology of building muscle. We are going to break down exactly why your progress might feel unpredictable, and more importantly, how you can take total control of it. Let's get into it.
Okay, let's kick things off with a massive paradigm shift. You ready for this? You do not build muscle in the gym. You break it there. We really need to completely reframe how we view working out. Your gym, it is not a construction site, it's a demolition site. All of the actual growth, the building, the recovery, those results you're actually looking for, they happen in the other 23 hours of the day. You know, while you're sitting at your desk, while you're sleeping, or while you're literally doing nothing at all.
So, what is actually going on down there during that demolition phase to kickstart the whole process? Well, meet MTR1. Think of MTR1 as your body's molecular project manager. When you're lifting a weight and your muscle fiber is under load, especially when it's lengthening, it physically deforms. And that deformation, that is what triggers the MTR1 signal. It essentially radios headquarters and says, hey, we need to build new, bigger protein fibers over here right now. That is the exact mechanism of hypertrophy.
And this is exactly why going through the motions doesn't work. Check this out. A brand new 2025 review out of McMaster University confirms something super fascinating. Your muscle doesn't actually need to be torn to grow. It just needs to be loaded under meaningful tension. So this proves that just moving a weight from point A to point B, not enough. The muscle has to actively resist the load. That is exactly why the exact same exercise can build incredible mass for one person and literally do nothing for somebody else.
Man, this biology completely busts the ultimate gym bro myth, right? Chasing soreness. For decades, people have chased the burn, thinking it means they had this amazing workout. But soreness is not a growth signal. It's just inflammation. It is literally just your body cleaning up the site. Think about marathon runners for a second. They are absolutely destroyed, so sore for a week after a race, but they don't come back with bigger legs. Soreness only tells you that you worked. Tension tells you that you are actually growing. Okay, so once that tension triggers the MTR1 signal, how long do we actually have? Well, you've got a 48-hour construction window. At 0 hours, your workout ends. Roughly 24 hours later, muscle protein synthesis, which is the actual construction process, hits its absolute peak. But look at what happens at the 48-hour mark. It is completely back to baseline. The window is closed. It's a surprisingly brief process, and that growth signal fades regardless of whether you still feel sore or tight. To really visualize how this impacts your actual routine, let's look at the classic bro split, where you hit a muscle group like your back, only once a week, let's say every Monday. Your muscles are actively building for just 2 days, and then they are sitting completely idle for 5 entire days. If you still feel sore on Thursday, remember that's just the cleanup crew. The actual construction crew, yeah, they packed up their tools and left on Wednesday. Now, here is the absolute game changer. Look at the difference between training a muscle once a week versus twice a week. By just splitting your training volume across 2 different sessions, you are taking those 2 days of growth and turning them into 4. You are quite literally doubling the stimulus and doubling the growth signal using the exact same amount of overall effort. Reapplying that stimulus twice a week is the single most valuable structural change you can possibly make. Honestly, it's worth far more than any supplement you're ever going to buy. Okay, so how do we make absolutely sure we are maximizing that tension during those sessions? The secret actually lies in a pretty massive number, 40%. Your muscles can produce approximately 40% more force during the lowering phase of a rep, the eccentric phase, than they can during the lifting phase. The descent of a pull-up, the lowering part of a bicep curl, that is where MTOR1 gets hit the absolute hardest. But most people treat that lowering phase as dead time. They just drop the weight fast to get to the next rep. They are rushing the exact part their muscles care about the most. Which brings us to a super simple, instant rule you can use today. 3 seconds. That is your new minimum for the lowering phase of every single rep on every single exercise. When you slow it down to 3 seconds, the weight instantly feels so much heavier, the muscle stays engaged longer, and every single rep demands intense control. That is the tension we were talking about earlier. Stop rushing the part that actually builds you. Section 1, the work environment and the materials. Let's shift gears and look at how we sustain this.
Right. This is where a lot of us accidentally sabotage all that hard work we just talked about. Sleep. Sleep is not a luxury, and it's not just quote unquote recovery. It is the literal physical environment where the construction happens. Just one single bad night of sleep reduces muscle protein synthesis by 18%. And get this, if you sleep 5 hours a night for just 1 week, your testosterone drops by 10 to 15%. To put that into perspective, that is the exact same hormonal decline associated with aging 10 full years, just compressed into a single week. Crazy, right?
And if you want to see the devastating real-world impact of this, look at this recent sleep deprivation study. Researchers put two groups on the exact same diet and the exact same caloric deficit. Literally, the only difference was sleep. The sleep-deprived group lost 60% more muscle and 55% less fat than the group getting adequate rest. Same food, same training, completely different bodies at the end of it. If you're sleeping 6 hours and scrolling your phone until midnight, you are actively undermining every other good decision you make in the gym. Okay, let's move to a pretty powerful analogy that perfectly captures our next pillar. You paid the crew, but you completely forgot to order the materials. mTOR1 fires the signal, sure, but that signal requires physical materials to actually execute the build. If you trigger the growth signal through a perfect, intense workout, but then you fail to eat enough protein, nothing gets built. You essentially hired the construction crew, paid them for a whole day of work, but didn't give them a single brick. Now, for a quick, kind of harsh reality check, studies consistently show that people underestimate how much food they eat by up to 50%. You might sit there thinking you're eating 150 grams of protein, but you're actually only getting like 90. You think you're in a lean gaining phase, but your calories are off and you're just gaining fat. You absolutely have to track your food with precision to eliminate this guesswork. I promise you, once you remove the uncertainty, you will know exactly why a plateau is happening. Section 2, Scaling the Project, Progressive Overload. Let's look at the long game. So the absolutely crucial thing to remember here is that your muscles adapt to any fixed stimulus. Your body is smart. If you do the exact same weight for the exact same reps week after week, your body has zero reason to build new tissue. It already knows it can handle that load. So the demands must constantly trend upward. Now that doesn't just mean throwing heavier weight on the bar forever. It means slower eccentrics, more controlled reps, harder variations like elevating your feet for push-ups, or just reducing your rest periods. The specific tool you use matters way less than the direction. The demand just has to keep climbing. All right, let's pull all of this together into a really clean, easy-to-follow daily blueprint. Step 1, train each muscle group twice a week, but keep the volume controlled to about 10 to 12 working sets per session so you don't hit diminishing returns. Step 2, lower the weight for a minimum of 3 seconds on every single rep to maximize that tension. Step 3, sleep 7 to 9 hours consistently to create your growth environment. And Step 4, hit your protein target of 0.7 to 1 gram per pound of body weight every single day to supply those materials. And this brings us to a foundational truth, one you really need to remember the next time you're scrolling and get tempted to switch up your routine. The basics, done properly and consistently, will always outperform any advanced method done halfway. Seriously, stop program hopping. Stop looking for some secret new exercise to magically spark progress. Master these fundamental triggers, secure your sleep environment, and dial in your materials first. The people building the most muscle out there, they aren't doing secret workouts. They've just removed the guesswork. Which leaves us with one final, kind of provocative question to close out today's explainer. Are you chasing the burn, or are you chasing the tension? Soreness peaks on day 2 and fades by day 4, but true, lasting muscle growth is driven by meaningful tension, adequate sleep, and sufficient protein. That is the whole game. So evaluate your routine, implement the biology we covered today, and start building brick by brick. Thank you so much for joining me, and keep learning.